How's it going, everybody? It's Scrapetown back with another Battlefield 2042 video for you guys. This one will once again be about the Shutdown game mode in the Leviathan update. In this video, I'm basically going to do some tips and tricks that I have picked up while playing this new game mode, and some map-specific things as well to show you just some things that I have picked up while playing it. So here are some overall basic tips for Shutdown. The best weapon in the game still, I think, is the RM68. I think most people agree with that, especially in Shutdown, considering the fact it is a smaller game mode. You don't have to be engaging people with longer distances, so you put the short barrel on there. I personally run the green laser sight as an underbarrel and just a red dot on top, or the 2x TE scope. I think really is the best choice for dealing with this, just because you can get headshots on a laser beam with this thing really easily. Just having the gun equipped like this is gonna allow you to get an awful lot of kills during it, and I just overall think it's probably the best. That and probably the K30 I think are some of the better weapons, and the 12G shotgun. Those are probably the best weapons and the ones that I see the most in the game right now. And for sidearm, I personally run the 12G shorty shotgun, just because the ability to switch to it and deal with somebody right up in your face is wicked easy and very helpful in a lot of situations. And even when you're flanking and you gotta get up right on top of your enemy before you start firing, it's so useful. You can just hop up on them, take them out. It one-shots people like you wouldn't believe. So here are some other pointers I have. A lot of times at the beginning of the game, you'll see your whole team go to the front objective, generally the A objective. They'll stack it because they assume the enemy is going to go for that base first, right? Now, if they do that and you haven't really engaged with anybody yet, simple tip, rotate to another objective, because more often than not, the bad guys are going over there. So just check all of your locations first, and if you see all your guys going to one area, maybe lean back for a little bit just to make sure there is a squad of enemies rotating around the back to see if they can get a free plant on you. Use smokes on attack is my third tip. Smokes are so useful, I think, in this game mode, and they are very underutilized, and you can use them in more ways than you think. So obviously you can use a smoke to cut off a line of sight when you're getting onto an objective, but if you throw a smoke after you planted the lance, you can make your enemy have to run through the smoke to engage with you instead of dealing with you around a corner or something like that, or from a longer range. Making them come through the smoke and come to you puts them at a disadvantage because you're already ready for them, and they come through the smoke, you can just easily mow them down. You can try using smokes for ninja defuse, but that has not worked for me so far, basically at all. Another tip here for grenades is to use incendiary grenades. Using incendiary grenades on top of the lance is generally what I'm talking about, and basically I've never gotten a kill with incendiary grenade, and I've also never been killed by incendiary grenade, but it will make somebody not want to go defuse the lance if they see there's an incendiary currently active on top of the objective. You can also do this with C5. Obviously you'll get a lot more kills with this, but the incendiary is just an automatic deterrent. It happens, you know, even if you are dead. Another tip is to use spotting grenades. On the recon class, a spotting grenade is wicked useful because in fact it's so small and hard to spot. You can just throw it down in the corner of the objective you planted the lance, or where you think the enemies will coming to plant the lance, and you just easily got spots ready for you. It's the same thing with using a tugs, but the spotting grenades are even better, I think, because they're so much smaller and you can throw them, obviously, so you can get them at a longer distance, and you can like aim them where you want to throw them. Another recon tip is to use spawn beacons on the objective or as close as you can. So post plant, if you can get a spawn beacon down, that'll help your team defend so easy, because we have the 5-second delay on respawn in this game mode, so allowing yourself to cut down that time like exponentially, in the sense of having to run from spawn if your squad gets wiped. Having that spawn beacon there is a real nuisance to the enemy, and will allow you to get right back into the fight really quickly. Also, another tip, remember that any damage done during the first half of the match will carry on to the second half of the match. So if you're attacking and you blow up a wall to get an angle on the enemy spawn, like on Flashpoint, remember next time you spawn on the attacking side, that hole is still going to be there, so watch out for that hole or any other subsequent holes. The easiest defense strategy is to locate the carrier and just camp the lance. Pretty simple. I feel like everybody already knows that. Find them and just sit on it. Even if another one is out running around, let your team go deal with the other one. If you can sit on that one and make sure they're not getting a double plant, basically, will help your team out a lot. If the game is moving into overtime and there are 2 objectives left and only 1 objective is currently being lanced, grab the other lance and lance the other objective not being lanced. So that's a lot of lances in a row right there, but basically just try to capitalize on your time during overtime. You could possibly get 2 destructions during this overtime, which would completely swing the looks of an entire match if you manage to get 2 instead of only having 1. Also, use claymores. Claymores can be destroyed pretty easily, but getting that frustrating kill on somebody if they jump over a wall or run through a door without paying attention can kind of come in clutch sometimes. And the other aspect about the claymore is that the enemy is going to have to take a second to destroy the claymore, either by throwing an EMP grenade or shooting it, or just standing on top of it and defusing it. And that 1 second of them doing that will A, alert you if they're there, if they shoot it or blow it, if they shoot it because it will blow up, or have to throw an EMP grenade on it. So you can know that person is where your claymore is put, so you will know to turn that direction. So if you're guarding one hallway and your claymore gets destroyed, you can switch over and look at the other direction and take that guy out because he had to destroy your claymore. And also getting that kill with the claymore is very, very satisfying. So here are some map specific tips that I have found. The first one is for Manifest. Personally, I think this is one of the more fun maps to do this on. So I'm just going to go through my tips. If you're planting on the largest first building, plant in the corner near the desks and by the stairs. So if you're looking at the main plant area, there's an area you can plant where there's basically a little desk. If you plant a little bit in front of that, you can prone underneath that desk. You have a perfect line of sight on the lance, and most people won't check there. You can sit there with a shotgun, sit there with a machine gun, and just wait for somebody to start defusing it, and you can take them out. If you have a suppressor in your gun, like if you're running your RM68, no one will even know that you're there. The second tip is if you are attacking, use the zipline tower when you first spawn in. Zip up to the top, and you can parachute down to one of the back objectives very quickly. Obviously, you're a pretty big target parachuting down and you might get killed, but being able to traverse the map very quickly, especially when you're opening the round, is very, very useful. And also at the end, when you are trying to defend and your squad gets wiped, you can go up to the tower and fly down to get to the objective even quicker. My third tip is that when you plant on the farthest objective from the attacker's spawn, the C objective, don't plant on top where the big circular dome thing is. Plant beneath it. Down there it's much easier to defend because you will have a better line of sight of their spawn, and you will be able to defend it easier not even being up on that platform. You can be in the wooded area and take out enemies trying to defuse the lance better. Another tip for the attacking team is to use McKay on the first building. If you use McKay's zipline, you can get up to the top of the first building and get control of the skylights or even the enemy's rotation into the objective right at the beginning of the round. This is something that I feel like a lot of people wouldn't really expect and could surprise them, and you could even put a claymore or just camp up there in general and take out the bad guys as they come in or spot them. And my last tip for Manifest is that when it comes to defend, just do your best to defend the first wave. I think defending the first wave and not allowing them into the building and denying them the sight is very useful for that map, just because it's so hard to rotate to the other ones. So my tip basically is that when you spawn in, run to the right side of the main building. From there, you'll be able to get a crossfire of the enemies trying to get inside of the building. And if they are already inside the building, go in that side door and go up the stairs, because more likely than not, they're not going to be on that side of the building yet. They're still going to be in the opposite side if they're in the building, and you could probably be able to catch them off their guard. So the next map I'm going to be doing tips for is Flashpoint. I like this map a lot for this. I think it's a really good one for it. So basically, on defense, you're going to want to control the enemy spawn the best that you can. So what I do is, when you're looking at the map, the 2 buildings that are facing the enemy spawn, if you're defending, go to the leftmost building, destroy the wall, and you can create an angle to their objective, to their spawn point, where the truck is and the pipeline is, and you can basically mow them down out of their spawn once you deal with that first wave, basically. But like I said before, remember that damage carries over. On defense, also, you can go to the far right side of the map where the hillside is, and you can snipe into the A objective. If you're a good shot, you can probably really hold down that objective pretty well. I haven't tried this yet personally, but I have been killed a couple times from that area. So when you're attacking and you have the lance planted, if you're in the buildings, make sure that you activate the doors and the garage doors so they close permanently. Because when you go towards those doors, if they're not activated to close, obviously they'll open for you automatically. So if you press the buttons to make sure that they stay closed, the enemy has to go through either the doors by forcing them open, or they have to blow up the wall. Both of those things are going to take time and make a lot of noise. So having those doors shut really slows the defender's attack with the lance. And don't forget that you can get on top of the oil riggings where you can have a lot of control of the map. So the 2 oil riggings, I think that's what they are. You can get up top there on attack. On defense, you can only get on top of 1. But being up top there, you can snipe down, you can spot. It's a pretty good spot to be able to deal with the rest of the map. Another big tip with Flashpoint is when you are defending, if you're fast enough, you can run to the tunnel that the attackers use to get to the A site. If you run down that tunnel, the out-of-bounds timer will run out just in time for you to get behind the enemies, because if there are a lot of them down there, you can get back there with a shotgun and create an unbelievable flank. This is difficult, and you may die a couple times doing this, but if you get it right, you can really change the round. So next up is Stranded. Basically, you want to use spawn beacons a lot on this map. It's very important, especially for taking on C and D. This is a big map for attackers to get around in. Those last 2 are very far away from the spawn and very difficult to traverse to. And considering the fact that the defense's out of bounds marker basically immediately begins as they exit the cargo bay doors, having your spawn beacons out there is wicked useful for getting around the map very quickly, especially after the lance is planted. So another instance of being able to use McKay to your advantage, if you use him on mainly the B objective, you can get up on top of the crates and have like an up-down or top-down view of the lance plant, and you can really, if you're attacking, you can really control the defenders trying to get in there and take them out. And if you're defending, I guarantee you attackers will not look up there first for you. So you can sit up there even with a sniper rifle and start taking people out as they come through the bay doors or through the side corridors. When you're planting on B, use the dozer shield. This was used on me during a match, and we lost because of it. The bomb was planted on B, or the lance, excuse me, was planted on B inside of a shipping container, and there were 2 dozers standing there with their shields just blocking fire, while the rest of the team took us out as we tried to deal with the dozers. Now, if this is done to you, the best way to deal with this is to throw an incendiary grenade, or use the new sticky grenade launcher, or the airburst launcher, or a rocket launcher to try and deal with these guys, or just a plain old grenade. But in the moment, I guarantee you, it will fluster the other team and confuse them, and by the time they get into position to throw or shoot anything at the dozers to deal with them, your teammates will hopefully have killed them. On defense, my personal best strat, I think, is on A, completely camp their spawn. You have a direct line of sight more or less from their spawn, so if you can get there really quickly, you can start taking them out early, and after that first wave is done, just control that area by going in and out of the out of bounds area. There's a little shipping container on the left side of the doors that if you go through, or if you go behind, a lot of times the enemy team will be back there firing in at you. So you get back there and behind them and you can kill them. I've done that quite a bit on this map, and it's worked very, very well for me. That's the best strategy personally that I have for dealing with that. Also, when you're attacking, if you can get a spawn beacon inside of the boat, that's massive and can really change the outcome of the game. So the last map that I have tips for is Exposure. I'm pretty sure these are the only maps that you can do this game mode in at all. I'm not 100% sure if I just haven't been lucky and been able to get the other maps, but I'm fine with these, to be honest. So the last one is Exposure. Like I said before, this is probably the worst one for this game mode. It's so defensive sided, it's incredibly frustrating, I think, but these are my tips that I found so far. So on defense, when you first start and you parachute down from the ledge, get on top of the little outcropping building, and you can sit there and you can throw things like C5, grenades, anything like that over that ledge, so when the enemies are coming around the corner there, you can take them out before they spill onto that first objective. Also, staying up there, you can just shoot down on them as they come out. And putting up a spawn beacon up there is also very, very useful. This also works for if you're attacking. If you plant out there, you can use McKay's grapple hook to get up on top of that outcropping. And if you're up there, there's a small chance you're going to lose that fight, I think. The enemy team can parachute down there on top of you, so watch out for that. But other than that, I think that's probably the best way that you can deal with that situation. If you lay down on the far edge of the A objective on the landing pad, you can get a pretty good line of sight to the enemy spawn. And from there, you can just kind of pick them off as they spawn too. Unfortunately, a lot of these tips deal with the spawn trapping, but in order to win some of these game modes, that's really the only way that you can do it. So if you lay down there and you put a pretty good scope on your gun, you can take out the guys as they zip line across or run across. And also with that edge that they run across, you can take them out as they go across there. Eventually they will find you, but you'll get a couple kills doing that. On attacking, the whole team, I think, basically has to work together on this map. It's extremely difficult to go off by yourself in this game mode in general and get like a solo plant and be able to take it out entirely. But work with your team on this. Personally, the one that I go for off the bat is the tunnel objective. Smoke off the entrance so the enemies have to go through, like I said before, and just hold down that area. If you keep the lance kind of towards your spawn when you plant it, it'll put it in basically in a position that your team will be able to defend it even if they're pretty far back in spawn. Now the other objectives, like I said before, you just have to work together and attack as a team. And like I keep saying, use smokes. That's the only way you're going to be able to get on these objectives quickly and effectively. That and like flashbangs, really. You just have to get on there and blitz the objectives as fast as you can to get on there, because the second your wave is shut down, a lot of times I have found that's it. The enemies can just hold you back and you will not get on the objective for the rest of it. Another tip, just in general for the game mode, supply your teammates, heal your teammates. This game mode is 8 on 8 and it's super fast paced, so there isn't 64 players in the server. You have to keep your teammates alive. Personally, I find there no reason to play Liz. I've seen a couple people play Liz on this and I don't have any understanding why. That and the same thing with the guy with the Gatling gun. I don't know who that person is because I've never played as them. Another one that's relatively useless unless you can get a right at top objective, then it's pretty good. But keep your teammates alive. Heal them, revive them, do anything you can to keep them alive, and you will exponentially increase your ability to win. So those are my tips and tricks. They're not too in-depth, they're just a kind of an overlay things, a couple of things that I hope you are able to implement into your gameplay of this new game mode. And I just want to ask you guys, what do you think of this new game mode? And what's your thoughts on the possibility of Battlefield having some kind of a ranked system with this game mode? I understand that it'll probably go away after this update or this mid-season event is over, but what do you guys think of there being some kind of a ranked situation in Battlefield 2042? I know there's a competitive scene for Battlefield. I kind of doubt there is now, but I know for Battlefield 4 there was. But, you know, a game like Counter-Strike or Rainbow Six Siege with their rank system, or even Call of Duty, what do you guys think of implementing that somehow into the game? I'm sure it would be frustrating with an 8-person team on each side and not like a 5 versus 5 like it is in Counter-Strike or most other competitive shooters. But I just wanted to hear your guys' thought on this. And like I've said before, I really like this game mode. I think it's a great change up for Battlefield. It's probably one of the more fun game modes I've played in a Battlefield game in quite a long time, and probably the most creative, except for maybe that hardline game mode where you had to hijack cars and drive around as long as you could. That was a pretty cool game mode, I thought, actually. And I also wanted to say to you guys, thank you so much for watching and sticking around with me. I really appreciate it. I really enjoy making these videos, and it's you guys that make this possible for me and make me want to do it, and I really appreciate it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really appreciate you stopping by. This is Scrabetown, and I'll see you next time.